Hello and welcome to the next Lukozer retro game review video, and there is a very good reason why I've started it now. The game is still loading, but yes, this is Thunderblade, the conversion of the Sega arcade coin-op. This was published in 1988. Published in the UK by US Gold. Now, there are three things on this particular page here, this particular image, that give you an extremely good indication of the quality of game that you are about to face. The first bit is at the top, where you see the two words Thunder and Blade. I mean, it's getting on for a couple of years ago. I was doing a number of, actually no, it wasn't a couple of years ago, it was less than that, but anyway, I was doing a load of arcade coin-ops, and among them was quite a few Sega Y-board games, and it says a lot about how good Thunderblade is, that even though I reviewed Outrun, Turbo Outrun, and fucking Afterburner, I refused to do Thunderblade. I drew the line long before Thunderblade would have fucking got excreted onto my monitor. So that's the first, first thing that would get you a bit anxious. However, it could be that you have hemorrhoids for brains, and you actually willingly went out and bought the Amiga conversion of Thunderblade. That's where we get the second thing here that tells you the sort of quality we are about to expect, because it says coding by Tiertex. Now, if ever there was a name as far as Amiga developers, the game is now loading. Yes, Tiertex is that name. As soon as you see that, walk the fuck away. If you don't believe me, have a look at my review of the Amiga conversion of Rolling Thunder. That was a Tiertex game. The third thing that I wanted to mention about that previous screen, you may want to just quickly go back and have a look at it, is that I started this video with the game loading. Indeed, when you switch on your Amiga, you insert the disc because you want to load it. So what you don't want to see is an image that comes up with the text, press fire to begin loading. Well, the loading should have already begun. That's why I put the disc in the drive. So mercifully, the shit music has stopped. Now, like I say, I hate the arcade coin-op of this game for several reasons. Firstly, I think the game is boring and staggeringly generic. But secondly, around this sort of time, of course, all of Sega's big Y-board games all came in huge, great deluxe cabinets with hydraulics and all this business. And the games themselves, there was no way any home computer, Amiga couldn't do it, let alone any 8-bit computers. They couldn't do a conversion of it. It was a waste of time trying. It never stopped anyone though. Just about every single one of those Sega Y-board games was converted. But the Thunderblade deluxe cabinet was a bit different. There were no hydraulics on it at all. In fact, you sat in a chair which swiveled left and right. And the thing that made it swivel left and right was the joystick. If you're not familiar with the cabinet, I'm not exaggerating here, the joystick was 3 feet long. basically came out from right at the bottom of the cabinet between your feet and came all the way up here, and then moving the joystick left and right, it was connected to the part of the cabinet you were sitting on, which made it turn left and right. So as well as being extremely unwieldy because of how long the bloody thing was, it also had the weight of you and the part of the cabinet that you're sitting on to move left and right as well. And as you can surely imagine, this resulted in the game being completely unplayable. So you wouldn't want to play it on the deluxe cabinet, you just played it on the regular stand-up cabinet, and then one go of that it meant you quickly saw just how shit and how generic the game was. Now, the Commodore 64 version of this was coded by Chris Butler, and it was one of Chris Butler's games where he didn't try and do a straight port of the game because he knew that was impossible. It was a waste of time. So, I don't know if this is true, but this is how it's always seemed to me. What he did was his interpretation of the game, and the net result is that he basically, it wasn't even a case of he made the best of a bad job. He'd been given a nigh on impossible task, and even though it still did bear resemblance to Thunderblade, he had somehow been able to actually put a fairly decent game together. If you don't believe me, check out the review of the Commodore 64 version that Gans Teeth did. With the Amiga version by Tiertex, I don't think you'll be all that surprised to hear that it didn't quite work out that way. So let's reluctantly get a game together. So press fire and wait for it to load. The game instantly throws you in into the action. So here we are. So we've got to take off straight away because you've got a tank advancing at you immediately. Now, to change your altitude, you have to press down and up, and that will change it up. Changes the altitude. To change your speed, again, it's the up and down on the joystick, but you have to do it while holding down the fire button, as we made it to the end of level 1, where it just completely stops and loads up the second stage, and again it just throws you straight in. Now here again you have to use the forward and fire to increase your speed, but also of course you need to use forward and fire to be able to move up and down, which means that if you're having to change your speed for some reason, or if you are firing but need to move away from I'm going to hit that building. If you are firing but then need to move like either up or down, tough. All you're going to do is reduce or increase your speed, but you're not going to change your altitude at all. Now, as ludicrous as it sounds, there are people out there who will defend this game and say that they've done a pretty good job of what is an extremely difficult task. Fuck off, have they? Oh, come on. The presentation is abysmal. I've already done my bit about this first screen where this bit comes up and then you have to press fire to start loading the game. But I mean, when the game does start, once it's finished loading, here we are, and straight away the enemy's firing at you. You have no warning at all. It just throws you straight in. As you have seen there, the collision detection is unbelievably suspect. See, at first you may think that the game is fairly generous in the number of lives it gives you. It gives you, I think, 5 lives. And you think, yeah, that's not bad. Should be able to do quite well. And then you realise that it gives you that many lives because you need them. And then, of course, it does one of my biggest pet hates of all games. Right across the top, it generously and kindly reminds us that this is Thunderblade. I know it's Thunderblade. I put the fucking disc in. So why does it have to have that fucking like banner across the top constantly telling us that this is Thunderblade? I know that. So a good quarter of the screen is filled up with this fucking banner here telling us that we're playing Thunderblade because, you know, we're too fucking stupid to know that. And of course it doesn't stop there. There's also, you know, more shit up and down both sides. Again, you know, what does that serve? What purpose is? What reason is that there for? You know. On top of all that, the in-game graphics themselves. Oh great! I made it to the end of this part as well. The in-game graphics are fucking horrific. And they really are fucking terrible. I'm now having to go through the level unbelievably slowly because it's the only way I can actually get anywhere. The audio is dire. You have very generic machine gun fire and explosions. Again, you can have either music or sound effects, but oh no, don't seriously think you're gonna get both. You fucking mad. So yes, music or sound effects, but yeah, you're not having both of them. The game is as hard as it is to imagine, the game is even more unplayable than the arcade coin-op. It's just... It is utter fucking shit. And again, I keep saying this about every Sega Y-board game when they're converted. You know, when this was done and ready, Tiertex should have shown it to whoever was going to publish it. You know, whether it's US Gold in Europe or whatever, and they would have looked at it and said, is this the best you could do? If they said yes, then it should have been thrown in their face with the bloke saying, well then that shows that it's a fucking complete waste of time even trying. And if they said no, then throw it in their face and tell them to fuck off and actually, you know, try and do a half decent job of it then. Which this, I mean, I actually think that this is the best that Tiertex could do. But that is because Tiertex are fucking absolutely incompetent. Their games are always shit. I mean, I don't know why Sega in particular, why they didn't say, okay, we'll sell the license to you, but there is a condition. Tiertex are not going to code it. If you try and bring Tiertex in to do it, then we're withdrawing the license. Because, I mean, Tiertex are just absolutely fucking useless. So, you know, although the game is a stinking fucking load of shite, I really do think that this is the best that Tiertex could do. I cannot believe I'm actually sitting here trying to play this shite. So the presentation is shit. Gameplay is non-existent, to be quite frank. The graphics are fucking awful. So is the audio. And to really top it off, it has that, you know, immense fucking bugbear of mine with the big old fucking banner across the top, constantly reminding us of the game that we are playing. How the fuck am I supposed to get through that lot? When I know I'm supposed to have blown up all of these things, but you just cannot aim for shit in this game. Why is it constantly flying backwards now? Fucking what? Right, okay, it looks like he has actually started flying in the direction I wanted him to go. It's good of him, but I mean, fucking look at all this. Yeah, I'm gonna... Frankly, I've done well to last this long. Is that... Oh, fuck it, I thought that was fucking game over for a minute. It was just wishful thinking on my part. Let's get some speed up. There we go. So I made it to the end. I can't believe I completed stage 1 of fucking Amiga Afterburner. Afterburner? Thunderblade. Actually, that says a hell of a lot. I would rather be playing Amiga Afterburner than this. Fucking hell. And look how slow it gets now that there's so many, you know, once there is a fair bit of graphics on screen to render, the game slows to a crawl. Anyway, that is more than enough of that shite. I just cannot stomach another second of it. So, there you go, Thunderblade for the Amiga. A total fucking waste of time even thinking about doing this. And yet, on the Commodore 64, Chris Butler showed that doing a conversion was possible, and if that wasn't amazing enough, he actually made it a half-decent game, which even the arcade original isn't. But this managed something equally remarkable insofar as it's far, far worse than the arcade original. So it's a stinking heap of shit. It gets 0 out of 10. I've been very generous by not putting it into the minuses. I just want to get this shit out of my face. So Thunderblade then for the Amiga, 0 out of 10. That brings this review mercifully to an end, and we will see you at the next one.